Marcus Chen had been cleaning floors at the Silverstone financial tower for 11 years. Every morning at 5 a.m., he arrived before the executives, before the secretaries, before anyone noticed the man who kept their marble lobbies gleaming. His uniform was always pressed, his smile always ready, though few ever looked long enough to see it. That Tuesday morning, Marcus was polishing the brass elevator doors on the 42nd floor when he heard raised voices from the executive suite. He'd learned long ago to make himself invisible during such moments, but something about the desperation in the woman's cry made him pause. "Please, someone has to help." Through the glass doors, Marcus saw a young woman in an expensive blazer, early 20s, her face streaked with tears. 3 executives stood around her with crossed arms and tight expressions. He recognized her, Sophia Vanderberg, daughter of the company's founder, Richard Vanderberg. She'd always been kind to him, one of the few who said, "Good morning," and meant it. "Sophia, this is a business matter," one of the executives said coldly. "Your father's estate is in probate. We can't just release funds. My mother is in the hospital." Sophia's voice broke. "She was attacked. They beat her during a robbery at our home. She's in critical condition and needs surgery the insurance won't cover, experimental treatment that could save her life. I need access to father's emergency accounts." "He would have wanted, your father's will is being contested," another executive interrupted. "Everything is frozen. You know this." Marcus watched Sophia's face crumble. Richard Vanderberg had died 6 months ago, and Marcus remembered how Sophia had quietly wept in the stairwell after the funeral, where he'd offered her his handkerchief. She'd returned it laundered, with a handwritten thank you note. Such small kindnesses were rare in his world. "But she's dying," Sophia whispered. "We're very sorry," the third executive said, though his tone suggested otherwise. "But there's nothing we can do. Legal is legal." As they dismissed her, Sophia stumbled toward the elevator, barely seeing where she walked. Marcus stepped forward instinctively, as she nearly collapsed. "Miss Vanderberg," he said softly, steadying her elbow. She looked at him with red-rimmed eyes. "Mr. Chen. I don't know what to do." The executives had already disappeared into their offices. Marcus glanced around the empty hallway, then made a decision that went against every instinct of self-preservation he'd developed over his years of invisible service. "Come with me," he said. He led her to the maintenance office on the 40th floor. A cramped space with a desk, filing cabinets, and a small window overlooking the bay. Sophia sank into the only chair, while Marcus poured her water from a filtered pitcher. "I'm sorry," she said, wiping her eyes. "You must think I'm pathetic, crying to the janitor." "I think you're a daughter who loves her mother," Marcus replied, pulling over an upturned bucket to sit on. "And I think those men up there forgot what that means." She laughed bitterly. "They forgot a lot of things once my father died. Did you know 3 of them are trying to contest his will? They claim he wasn't of sound mind when he revised it last year. They want to reverse his final wishes, including the provisions he made for employees like you." Marcus had heard rumors. Richard Vanderberg had planned to establish a profit-sharing program, an educational fund for all staff, including maintenance and custodial workers. The executives had apparently been less than enthusiastic. "How much do you need?" Marcus asked quietly. Sophia blinked. "What?" "For your mother's treatment." "How much?" $250,000, she whispered. "But Mr. Chen, I wasn't asking you, I know." Marcus stood and walked to one of the filing cabinets. His hands trembled slightly as he unlocked it. "Your father was a good man, Miss Vanderberg. One of the few in this building who saw people like me as people. I don't understand." Marcus pulled out a worn leather folder and handed it to her. Inside were stock certificates, bonds, and a savings account statement. Sophia's eyes widened as she processed the numbers. This is over $300,000. 342,000, Marcus corrected. I've been investing carefully for 28 years. Since before I came to this country. Sophia looked up at him, stunned. Mr. Chen, I can't possibly accept. You're not accepting. You're borrowing. Marcus pulled out a blank piece of paper and began writing. I'll write up a simple loan agreement. You'll pay me back when the estate settles. No interest. Your father once told me that wealth unused is just numbers on paper. Wealth used to save a life. That's what money is for. But this is your life savings, Sophia protested, tears streaming again. Your retirement, your security, your mother is dying, Marcus said simply. Numbers can wait. Lives cannot. The surgery was scheduled for that Friday. Marcus accompanied Sophia to the hospital, helping her navigate the financial paperwork. The experimental treatment, a combination of advanced neurosurgery and cellular therapy, carried risks, but it was Mrs. Vanderberg's only chance after the traumatic injuries she'd sustained. In the surgical waiting room, Sophia told Marcus the full story. Her mother, Elena, had been at their family home sorting through Richard's personal effects when 3 men broke in. They'd been looking for safe codes, account numbers, convinced the Vanderbergs kept cash and valuables at the residence. When Elena couldn't give them what they wanted, they'd beaten her severely. The police think it might have been an inside job, Sophia said quietly. Someone who knew my father had died, who knew the estate was in chaos. Someone who thought we'd be vulnerable. Marcus said nothing, but something cold settled in his stomach. The surgery lasted 9 hours. When the surgeon finally emerged, exhausted but smiling, Marcus watched Sophia collapse in relief. She made it through, the doctor said. The next 72 hours are critical, but she's stable. She's a fighter. Sophia hugged Marcus, sobbing into his shoulder while he patted her back awkwardly, aware of the other families watching this unlikely pair. The truth came out 3 days later. Marcus was cleaning the executive floor when he heard the shouting, real shouting this time, and the sound of security guards. Through the glass doors, he saw police officers leading 2 of the executives away in handcuffs. A third sat at the conference table with his head in his hands. Sophia emerged from the chaos and spotted Marcus. She walked over, our expression grave. They found evidence, she said. The 3 executives who were contesting my father's will, they were also embezzling from the company. When my father found out shortly before he died, he threatened to expose them. They planned to contest the will to buy time, to hide what they'd done. The attack on my mother. She swallowed hard. They hired those men. They thought if they could access my father's personal files, they could destroy evidence of their crimes. Marcus felt sick. Your mother nearly died because of corporate greed. She would have died if not for you. Sophia reached out and took his hand. Mr. Chen, I need to tell you something else. Something I discovered while going through my father's papers during all this. She pulled out a folder, different from the one Marcus had shown her, but somehow familiar. Do you know why my father always spoke so highly of you? Sophia asked. Do you know why he specifically mentioned you in his will? Marcus shook his head, confused. 28 years ago, when you first came to San Francisco, you were an architect in Taiwan. You had your own firm, your own reputation. But the economy collapsed, and you lost everything. You came here with nothing, took whatever work you could find. How did you? My father's company was struggling then too. He was on the verge of bankruptcy, about to lose everything he'd built. Do you remember the night he worked late, about 11 years ago? The night the building's heating system failed in December. Marcus remembered. He'd found Richard Vanderberg alone in his office at 2 a.m., staring at architectural plans spread across his desk, plans for a building expansion that would either save or destroy his company. The supports were wrong, Marcus heard himself say. The load-bearing calculations. I saw it immediately. I told him the contractors were cutting corners, that if he approved those plans, the building would have structural failures within 5 years. Sophia nodded. You stayed with him until dawn, redrawing the plans. You showed him exactly what needed to change. You saved him from a catastrophic mistake that would have bankrupted the company and possibly killed people. I just pointed out what I saw. You were a janitor who'd once been an architect, Sophia said gently. You could have said nothing. Kept your head down. Instead, you used your expertise to help a man who had the power to listen. My father never forgot that. He tried to offer you a position in the company, but you refused. Marcus looked away. I had no American credentials. No license. I couldn't design buildings here legally. And I was afraid. Afraid to try and fail again. Cleaning floors was safe. Invisible. My father understood, Sophia said. But he also set something up for you. She opened the folder, revealing documents. This is an educational trust he established in your name 5 years ago. It's been accruing value, currently worth about $200,000. He intended to tell you when you reached retirement age, to fund whatever you wanted to pursue next. Architecture classes, if you wanted to recertify. Travel. Anything. Marcus stared at the papers, his vision blurring. My father wrote a letter, Sophia continued, pulling out an envelope. He wanted you to have it someday. I think now is the right time. With shaking hands, Marcus opened the letter. Richard Vanderberg's handwriting was clear and strong. Dear Marcus, you once told me that in your country, there's a saying, the person who plants trees knowing they'll never sit in their shade is the one who understands meaning. You planted a tree for me that night, though you didn't know it. This trust is my tree for you. You could have stayed invisible, it would have been safer. But you chose to see, to speak, to help. That's not the mark of a janitor. It's the mark of a builder, regardless of what title society gives you. Use this to build whatever you wish. You've earned the right to be visible again. With deep respect, Richard. Marcus couldn't speak. Sophia gently squeezed his shoulder. I want to pay back your loan immediately from my mother's account, she said. And I want to offer you something else. The company needs a new director of facilities and infrastructure. Someone who understands buildings from the ground up, literally. Someone who sees what others miss. Would you consider it? I'm 62 years old, Marcus whispered. My father was 55 when he started this company. Age is just numbers, remember. Lives and opportunities, those can't wait. Marcus Chen stood in the conference room on the 42nd floor, wearing a suit instead of a maintenance uniform. Around the table sat department heads, listening as he presented his infrastructure assessment of all Silverstone properties. His recommendations would save the company millions, and more importantly, ensure safety across every building they owned. When the meeting ended, Sophia approached with her mother. Elena Vanderberg moved carefully, still recovering, but her smile was warm as she embraced Marcus. I understand I owe you my life, she said. We all owe each other, Marcus replied. Your husband taught me that. Later, standing by the window overlooking the bay, Marcus thought about visibility. For 11 years, he'd believed invisibility was safety. But Richard Vanderberg had seen him anyway. Sophia had seen him. And in the moment that mattered most, he'd chosen to be seen, to step forward instead of back, to use what he had instead of protecting what little he thought he possessed. The numbers in his account had been restored. The trust fund remained intact. But neither mattered as much as the realization that he'd spent 11 years hiding from failure when he should have been building toward purpose. He was visible now. Not as a janitor, there was no shame in that work, and never had been, but as himself. All of himself. The architect, the immigrant, the survivor, the man who saw what others missed and finally had the courage to speak again. Outside, the San Francisco fog was lifting. Through it, Marcus could see the bridges spanning the water, those magnificent structures built by people who refused to let obstacles stop them from connecting one shore to another. It was never too late to build. Hello everyone. If you are enjoying this video and finding it helpful, don't forget to support our channel. Please subscribe to our channel, press the like button, and share this video with your friends and family. Also, make sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming videos. We regularly upload amazing, informative, and entertaining content just for you. Your support means a lot to us and motivates us to bring even better content in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and welcome to our growing community.